We are excited to have Brian Murphy, the associate shop foreman for Stewart-Haas Racing. Did I get that title right, Brian?
You did.
Yeah, welcome in, Brian. This is a great honor for a Stewart-Haas Racing personnel to join us.
No, this is great. This is the fun part about sport, is talking to the fans, on all the podcasts, and doing things like this, and getting to share and celebrate our sport.
And that's what we're about. Basically, is we're not trained media professionals, as you may have already been able to tell, but we're passionate fans, and we're lifers. We're 10 years apart. Cam's in his 30s. I'm in my early 40s now. So, but it's just something that's been a part of our life for so long, and we love talking about it. And that's just kind of how this was born. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about what's a day in the life for you at Stewart-Haas Racing.
Well, it's right now it's weird with the next gen car, or the Gen 7 car. It's, everybody's job is kind of evolving and shifting as we learn what needs to happen with these race cars. So it's a lot of, for me, just trying to work for the people, trying to get them the information, the parts, whatever they need to be as efficient as possible. It's really, whether it be, again, a part or information, or just somebody to yell at that very moment. It's a high stress job. We need a lot of things instantly, right? When do you need something? Yesterday. So it's whatever we can do to be efficient, especially with this new car. Learning the best way to put it together to maximize the performance of the car, as well as it's every day you're learning on how to build this car a better way. And I think that's what you're going to see is the teams that, really reap the benefits early are going to be ones that built the car in a strategic fashion. And we learn that every day and how to perform better.
Obviously this is a new car, and that's one of the things we hear a lot about NASCAR, a lot of questions about the new car. But I kind of have a question regarding the old car. And what were the challenges with the old car that maybe you don't have to worry about with this new car? Obviously, everybody's talking about the changes within it, but I'm very curious as to how things were maybe back then, and now how you're going to have to change things going forward.
It's actually a really good question. I like that one. It's the old car, first thing, we had very few limits on, first of all, the cars, right? So we went to a 7-car limit this year, and that's a massive step of where we were 2 or 3 years ago. When I started at Stewart-Haas in 2015, and through COVID, we had over 100 cars in our fleet. So just dealing with the low car count and trying to maximize that logistically when a car goes to a track, how it goes to a track. Especially early on when we don't have as many parts and pieces, just dealing with the low car count on the next gen car is difficult. Whereas when we would go to speed weeks previously with the Gen 6 car, we would build 16 cars just for this week. So with that, you had a lot more options, right? Some cars just naturally go together better than certain other ones, and you could pick and choose on your weapons for this race. So that's one big thing. I think another thing is, we don't have the ability to, there's a lot less out of our hands, right? Like, so we could, before, there was no limit, whether it was money, time, or manpower, we could just throw whatever we wanted at the situation. Now we're waiting on parts. Sometimes these parts aren't as precise as we were hoping they would be. Or sometimes, they just don't go together the way we were hoping. So, there's a lot less options when it comes to picking parts and building super precise, effective race cars. Whereas now you just kind of, you got to bolt them together and hope that it goes the best, and hope those pieces work out the way you want them to. There's a lot less massaging on this new car. A car previously, a rush job on a Gen 6 car was 3 or 4 weeks. They would spend days in the body shop, days in the paint and body shop. They would go through the Hawkeye. We would run upwards of 50 to 60 runs in the OSS at the shop, just tuning the car in. And now with this next gen car, you're only at about 10 or 15 runs because there's the box is still open. There's just a lot less that you can fool with. So yeah, it's a night and day difference between the old car and the new car. It's like I said, there's still a big box of creativity, but logistically, I think that's the biggest thing we're learning is how to be efficient and how to be smart with what you have.
In terms of the box that you're speaking of, the toolbox, when you're in the shop, how does this affect what type of tool? Like, have you had to change tools in the shop and ship out some stuff and ship some other things in?
A lot of gear wrench tools, right?
There's been a lot of gear wrench packages coming in this year for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a completely different race car.
It's an overhaul of everything, right?
Yeah, everything. So, you know, up until this year, the Cup Series, and now even this year, it's something to look at is the Truck Series. But up until this year, you know, the Cup Series had metal bodies. There was metal fabrication. There was a lot of artwork that went into these cars. Not maybe quite as much as back in the Twisted Sister days, but there was still plenty of artwork. You know, these guys that worked on these cars were very, very specialized metal fabricators. So some of the best in the world. A lot of our guys, they leave here and they go to companies around the world to fabricate. So yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of those metal fabrication tools leave. There's, you know, a couple metric wrenches that you need now, which is kind of funny.
Touch of Canada there.
So, but mostly
sorry.
My toolbox is still basically full with the same things, minus a lot of my metal fabricating work. But yeah, it's you know, a lot of the other things, the scanners, we still scan every part, every piece. We still scan the bodies before they come off the plate. You know, roamer arms. We used roamer arms before. I don't know if you know what that is. This is an XYZ platform, and we don't use tape measures or lasers. We use a GPS system to locate the body panels, to build, to set up the cars, to, you know, everything is scanned and roamer armed down to thousandths of an inch. So, you know, that's one thing that will always be around since we've opened that technology is roamer arm scanning and the precision of the sport.
Was there a lot of fear with the new car? Because there's a lot of excitement and stuff from fans, but as somebody that's been working with one type of car to now all of a sudden you're getting to Daytona, and as we've said that there's low parts and availabilities of cars maybe aren't as much as you were used to. So, and we know Daytona, I mean, the drivers are always on their best behavior and they never wreck at all when they're at Daytona. So what is there fear from a shop standpoint that, hey, if we destroy a car straight off the bat, then we're behind the 8 ball?
Yeah, it's an ever evolving problem, really. It's interesting. You know, when the new car came out and we heard about everything it was going to do in control, it was a very scary time for people, not only their jobs, but how teams were going to be able to evolve into a completely different platform. Like I said, this is the Cup Series platform, especially now the trucks and somewhat even the Xfinity platform is something you don't see anywhere else in the world of motorsports. The chassis, the bodies, you know, the old school suspension systems that, you know, you would take 1950s truck arms and turn them into highly advanced pieces of suspension. So, and now, like you said, the you know, going into the part shortages, the just the low car counts, again, the logistics of all that. It is every week it seems to get worse, honestly. You know, and the other thing is the car is evolving. The next gen car is already evolving in a massive amount. So you're seeing new rocker boxes, you're seeing new closeouts. And designing these parts and pieces doesn't happen overnight. I mean, there's a lot of thought that has to go into, you know, how the exhaust ran and the cooling and why we moved it. and to then now rebuild the whole rocker box and close out, get the parts built, shipped. And here we are, now seeing these new parts a month later is great. But, just those small setbacks. At the end of the day, though, what I try to tell everybody is a lot of us grew up or were around short track racing, and you had one car. That's all you had. You know what I mean? We were the only series or the only discipline in motorsports where we had so many cars that we built storage units just to put them in, right? So, it sucks. It's going to be outside of our comfort zone, but, as long as you have a car to go to the next race, whether you have to build it in the parking lot or you have to reuse pieces or whatever it may be, I can promise you we'll be at the races, and in 6 months we'll be looking back and laughing at the situation we're in right now. It's
funny because Graydon, it sounds just like it is. It's a short track deal again. Like you have the one car, and if you've got to spend, I mean, we were talking about this before. We've seen it where at the NASCAR Pinties event at CTMP, you were watching DJ Kennington. It was pitch dark outside and he's working on his car late at night. I mean, hopefully you don't have to deal with that, but it makes it more of that short track feel in a way.
Yeah, it's definitely a new element to cup racing, something we haven't seen in a long time. And there are the guys that have forgotten, I hate to say where they come from, but it's been so easy. We've been so spoiled. The teams have been so efficient at what we've done, and we've had so much at our fingertips. So it's not their fault. It's going back to a really difficult time when you were younger in your career and staying up 24 hours straight to build a car. It's going back to those days where things aren't just going to fall into place like they used to. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be like I said, it's going to be tough times, and that's okay. It's a learning for the entire series. We've spent so much money these last couple decades that to come out and have a couple hard months to kind of get us back into place. It won't always be like this. Things will be easier. There will be parts, there will be cars. So this will just remind us and get us better for the future and everything that comes with it.
That's well said. I mean, every industry has a checkpoint where pencils need to get sharpened and you need to trim the fat, so to speak, in order for the longevity of said industry. You're essentially the cup guys. I mean, are eliminating basically a faction of your industry in the fabricating sense of it. But I shouldn't say that, but in terms of how the car is built, I guess I should say. Yeah. Stewart-Haas Racing still has an Xfinity operation too, which I guess could be called the new old school series. I guess what my question would be, did you guys have to let a lot of people go in this process? And if so, the people that you kept, did you look at the Xfinity team in order to keep your most well-rounded people?
No. Well, first of all, like our Xfinity team, they perform really well, right? So they have came up in the hardest of ways as a single team, just being open and thrown next door in that Haas F1 shop. And they have a really nice shop, but us Cup guys didn't give them any help. We can't take any credit for their performance. That's all their hard work. So they have everything they need. They know what they're doing. We didn't need to send anybody over there to help them.
Okay. Yeah.
They are already a well-oiled machine, and they had everything they needed.
Nice.
With that said, when the new car came out, like I said, it was scary times for a lot of people on whether or not they would have jobs or what the industry would look like. And through the last year and a half or 2 years of wondering, there have been some people that have left just out of the natural worry of things. But once we started getting the car in the early stages, like we quickly realized that this was not just a Lego set. There was a lot that goes into this car. And, you still have to use the roam arms. Like I said, you still have to be able to build cars to Hawkeye standards, which are 150 thousandths of an inch plus or minus. So you don't just walk in off the street and are able to work these tolerances or use these tools. These guys may not be forming metal anymore, but they have way more skills than just that. And it takes a very talented individual to put these cars together to win cup races. So we haven't really lost that many people. We really haven't had to lay off almost anybody. It's this car, it's way more involved. And it's funny, as we keep going on, we learn more ways to either massage the car or create efficiencies in the production and assembly of the car. Stewart-Haas was kind of a small team to begin with. I mean, it sounds funny, but with only 350 people, we were a small superpower team. Our pit crews, they're not just pit crew members. There's a lot of great fabricators, a lot of great mechanics that they go.
Nice.
They work out, they do practice, and then they come back over and they help assemble these cars. They're driven and they are multi-talented. And so we really weren't put in a position to have to make those tough decisions.
Oh, that's great.
Let's take the flip side. We talked about earlier about what the challenges were with the old car, but let's talk about the positives of this new car, because you did talk about that. Obviously there's still a lot that you guys need to learn about it, but is it an easier process? What are the advantages to this new vehicle?
Like I said, it's a tough question because there are advantages. It's just every day we learn something new and go, why did we do it that way the last time? It's again, just being able to swap pieces out almost seamlessly. I think the lower teams are really going to be able to be more efficient at the way they attacked a race weekend, right? So, we have scanners, we have roller arms, we have all these processes to put together these cars in which we are still using. So it's not as if we have taken away a lot of time, but just, being able to just bolt on a fender and scan it, opposed to putting it on, welding it, oh, not right, cutting it off, putting it back on, welding it, oh, cutting it off. So I just think the simplicity of putting on and taking off parts is probably the biggest part. And really the elimination of departments. I mean, there are still finished fabricators, there are still body hangers, there are still mechanics, but the actual movement of the race car is far less. A car can be set up on stands, and honestly, you could hang the body, put the suspension in, put the motor in, set it up, measure it, and almost do anything right in the same area. So it's more about moving the people around when the car needs to be in that position or assembled at that time than it is moving the car around. So it's a completely different mindset on assembling the cars, on building the cars. And, it's every day is a struggle right now, just figuring it out. So it's hard to say something's easier when again, teams are still figuring everything out on what to do.
I don't know if you can speak to it yet because we've only run the Clash if you have to get into the season, but looking at who's brought backup cars to Daytona and things like that, this car we saw, I think it was an RCR car, I think, that really got the press. I think it was Austin Dillon that wrecked in a test, that they smashed the nose off it and they changed the front clip in a race. Does this, like, if you bring a crash car to parts for a car, will it eliminate, depending on the severity of a wreck, will it eliminate rolling a backup car out if you can just replace a front clip, or does it smash it? Like, it takes a car out for a weekend still?
No. So again, it's one of those things I talked about where for a short or a low budget team or a smaller team, that is something that is very possible. Something that will help those lower end teams. What the 3 team did that weekend in that test was a great showcase on the next gen car and
capability, I guess. Right?
Yeah, and its capability. When you break it down, though, that will never happen at a racetrack.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of put that in context for us, I guess.
When it comes to a team, a championship caliber team, and you wreck like that, there is so much effort that goes into putting these pieces in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a difference between a car rolling around the track and a car going to win a cup race. And again, that's what it's not necessarily a Lego set.
Mm-hmm.
Every car, is different, is a little different. And these cars aren't even to the caliber, honestly, that teams built. We gave our builders, our part assemblers, our body hangers plus or minus 20 thousandths of an inch, and we're seeing much bigger gaps in that, and as there should be. Like what we were holding our people to was on another level. So so just getting these parts and pieces, you can't just bolt the car together. I mean, the bodies, when we first got them, we literally would just bolt a body together and it would already be outside of NASCAR's tolerance and not even to the direction that we wanted. So it's not so easy as just to bolt pieces together. And even if you do that and are able to pass tech, you most likely won't have a race winning car. So it's all great. It showcases how easy it can be or the capability of the car. But if we wreck a car like that in practice, I have a hard time believing you'll see any top tier team save it and not pull out the backup.
For the cars that you guys obviously used last year, they're not being used anymore. So what happened to them? Are they for sale? Are you donating them to Stickers and Scuffs to put in my parking spot? I'd love a show car, show off. What happened to those cars?
Yeah.
I'll take one Kevin Harvick car, please. That would be great.
So the good thing about the next gen car was that we were obviously given such a big, I want to say, warning about it. So we kind of, as we went through the season, we could kind of schedule in whether or not we were going to build new cars or fix new cars, or what our inventory was going to look like at the end of the year. And as we started destroying cars, you would just throw them away and not build one. We obviously had a couple leftovers at the end of the year, but really the Gen 6 car and the Xfinity car are the same center section with different front and rear clip rules. So a lot of our cars just got front clipped, rear clipped, and our Xfinity team got a lot of nice shit. So not that they didn't have good stuff before, but they got a lot of nice stuff. So
got some nice stuff under the Christmas tree this year.
So and honestly, that goes throughout. It's going to be fun to watch the Xfinity series and the Truck Series this year, because all of that good Cup equipment went somewhere, right? And so there's going to be a lot of good teams in Xfinity, in trucks, with a lot of good leftover stuff that they were able to get their hands on this offseason. So it's going to be fun to see how competitive possibly those two series are this year.
Absolutely. I think we're one of the biggest fans of the NASCAR Xfinity series. It's extremely fun to watch. And obviously you guys got a dog in the fight, but you also got a dog going drag racing as well. So got to wonder what's happening with the shop there. Are you going to be a foreman there, or is that something completely out of your wheelhouse?
No, I think a lot of people always wonder, like with the F1 side, with the now that the drag side, it's completely separate. Same thing, with anything really. You have your specialty, and making sure those people concentrate on that particular specialty is how you win races in that particular series. So yeah, the F1 side, we don't even talk to those guys. It's a completely different platform. It's a completely different mindset. And honestly, a lot of that is done overseas.
Okay.
Same thing with the the NHRA team. It's just fun to have an owner that is so missing the word, just driven throughout motorsports as a whole, right? I mean, from dirt racing to drag racing to cup racing to whatever it is. I mean, to be able to be part of a team where just for the love of motorsports is something that you have to be part of this team. And so it's also fun now to have a team that you can actually cheer for, right? Like I like drag racing. I just didn't really, whoever won, it was great it was fun to watch. But now I can really go buy some T-shirts and cheer on the home team. Same thing with Haas F1. They've had a rough couple of years. It's going to be fun to watch them grow with their new car this year as well. And hopefully they take off and have some success as well.
Well, Tony, this is a Gene, this is a ploy, this is a plea from your Canadian friends that we have a series called the NASCAR Pinty Series, and we're always looking for new and exciting team owners. Just saying, we got some great drivers up here. So let's see if we can get the SHR Mobile One Ford cars up here, maybe some Busch Light as well. Obviously, I got to hear how you got into Stewart-Haas Racing, because being a part of Tony Stewart and Gene Haas's team just doesn't happen out of the sky, right? So how did that happen?
It's a lot of networking. I used to hate that term, but honestly, it's networking, but it's also working for people that taught me everything I know, from how to be a racer to how to weld to how to hang bodies, and just it's such a small family, really, the Cup Series or the NASCAR Series, really, because it's all mostly based down here in Mooresville in the Charlotte area. So if people like your attitude, they like your work ethic, that travels quickly throughout the community. So I started out building late model stocks and super late models for Performance Center in Statesville, North Carolina. That's where I learned everything. Before I went there, I'd never worked on a race car. After that, I was able to run across the guy. He owned a company that built or hung bodies for KBM and ThorSport. And that's really where my body hanging and that skill set really exploded. And I started to understand what it took to be in the top 3 series in NASCAR. And just word of mouth, a friend at Stewart-Haas told me that they needed another body hanger. And after about a month, I was over there hanging front ends on Cup cars. So it's funny just how really the people side is so important. I wouldn't be anywhere I am, or I wouldn't be where I'm at without the help, the guidance, and everything that comes with that through the relationships you build in the sport.
I mean, I'll be honest, Tony Stewart back in the day at Joe Gibbs Racing, Bobby Labonte was like the white knight, and Tony Stewart was like the dark hat, the black sheep or whatever. And it almost wasn't until kind of the inception of Stewart-Haas Racing that it opened my eyes enough to start showing the respect that Tony deserved. And he ended up by the time he started that he hung it up, he was my second favorite driver behind Junior. I mean, it almost speaks to, like, maybe pound for pound, I might like Stewart more than Junior, because it was such an about face that, like, it showed. And like what you've spoken to, like, I remember when they made the announcement for Stewart-Haas Racing that he's hiring racers, and it just seems that it stayed true to that from day one, as the team more than doubled in size basically from when it started. And I've gained respect hand over fist for Tony, just because his love for racing only has become more apparent over the years when he's buying series and tracks and that sort of thing. So I mean, it's just got to be an amazing honor and privilege to work for a guy like that.
Absolutely. And Gene Haas too, he loves racing as much as anybody else. I mean, for him
definitely does
spend as much money as he does in the Cup Series, and also have an F1 team and all the little stuff he still does across the United States in racing. It's from top to bottom, this is a team of get your hands dirty, jeans and t-shirt racers. And, I think every team has their own character, their own personality. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see, we laugh at Penske because we're like, the dirty kid in the alley, and then you got Penske, and it's fun to see how Ford works with that, how, that they deal with the two personalities of their own teams. But, it's true. Fun to run with your personality, as we do. Like I said, we are the T-shirts and jeans team of the Cup Series. And, when you walk into our shop, we wear T-shirts. I'm wearing, this long sleeve T-shirt, but, and things like that. And, our shop floor is a little dirtier. Our nails are, there's a little dirt under our nails and things like that. And it's nothing to shy away from. It's just the personality, the racer mentality of this team. And we love celebrating it. We love showing people it. I think that's a great reason why we have a lot of the sponsors we do, is because they just match up with our personalities. Gear Wrench, Mahindra, Busch Beer. A lot of these sponsors come to us because they want to be part of who we are as well. And we just gel so well with all of them.
It's definitely true. And we here at SNS, we are some pretty big SHR fans. You can't really see the cupboard behind me that's full of Kevin Harvick cars, but we're big Chase Briscoe fans as well. We got a shout out to our buddy Nouse, Jonathan Nouse, whose birthday it is today, actually. He's a big Chase Briscoe fan. And Cole Custer, and then Eric Almirola as well. So you guys definitely have an organization that we love to follow, and we're very honored that you came on and spoke with us today. This was extremely, extremely fun. I wish we could kind of go on and on and on, but obviously your time is valuable, and we really thank you for taking the time to speak with us. And maybe someday we will get a Stewart-Haas Racing Canada up in the Pinty Series. And, you never know, right? Tony does love racing, he said. So,
hey, I never thought he would own an HRA team, and here we are. And so
happy wife, happy life, right?
All right. Well, we want to thank Brian Murphy for coming on. Best of luck this season, Brian. You guys have some fantastic looking race cars already this year, and some great drivers. And hopefully they don't bend up those brand new cars for you right away. But thank you so much for joining us on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast.
No problem. Anytime. Don't be shy. I got, we can do this whenever you want. Don't be afraid to ask. And hey, we're 30 minutes, an hour away from Daytona 500 qualifying. So
yes.
So jump into that and see how we do, and it'll be a good time. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.